Hello, today I am talking with Jake, who is a cover designer, and I'm super excited to share with you our interview. So let's hop into it. First off, can you tell me and us, actually, can you tell us a little bit about you and your designing and how you got started?
I started designing book covers probably um, 7 years ago or so, or 6 years ago.
Okay.
It's been a while back. Worked at a print shop for about 10 years in the small town that I live in, and on in the evenings I got to doing book covers at night before I had kids, and then it kind of just kind of blew up on me, and then I had to make a decision whether to scale back book covers or quit my job and do book covers full time. And I didn't want to live with regrets. I knew I'd always wonder what would happen if I didn't do it. And so
Right.
I took the leap and I quit my job and started doing this. Yeah.
Good.
And it's been fantastic. I mean, I've been really blessed with good clients and good work, and
Good.
it's been real good for me. So
Right. Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. Congrats on being able to do this full time because like
yeah.
when you love what you do, it makes such a difference in your life.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. It makes a world of difference. I mean, there's always a cons to anything you do,
Right.
but by and large, I mean it's a great job. I mean, I sit back and think all the time how crazy it is that I get to do this, and I'm here at my house, so
Yeah.
it's wonderful. So
Ah, well, that's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that. Here. So, what is your favorite book? If you could pick a favorite book, what would it be?
I read a book a long time ago called Aurora by an
Yep.
author named James Byron Huggins. He's written like 7 or 8 books.
Okay.
Most of them are kind of like action movie books. But Roar was the historical fantasy type book, or just a historical book that has some, I guess, embellishments in it. It's about the Spanish. It's about the Spanish Inquisition and how they moved through
Oh,
Italy and like would force people to convert to Catholicism and that kind of stuff. And so it's about a town that fights back. So it's kind of like 300 in the sense that this town fought back and that lived up in the mountains, and it's
yep.
based off of an actual event. But again, there's embellishments to the whole story. But it's probably my favorite book I've ever read. The Road by Cormac McCarthy is one of my favorites as well. It makes me, I don't know. You ever read a book you think, man, I'm not smart enough to read this book, um,
Yeah.
but I read it anyways. I read a couple of them like that, and,
Okay.
and and the Road would be one of them. And then I read the Malazan Empire series by Steven Erickson, and I love pretty much all those. So I mean, I'm kind of rambling here with my favorite books, but it's kind of hard to pick just
Yeah.
one. So
Oh, good. That's perfect. Okay. I always like to ask that question just because it kind of gets a feel, like gives everyone a feel for like what kind of stuff you like to read and stuff and
yeah,
everything. Oh, it's pretty
yeah.
cool. Yeah, perfect. Okay, and then so if you could describe your design style using 5 descriptive words, what would you choose?
It's pretty easy. It would be badass art for badass stories.
Okay,
That's kind of I try to make art or covers that are a little bit more dynamic than normal ones, where it's not just a front on shot, where there is some movement and some action or some just some a real gritty feel to the story. That's how I
perfect.
try to approach most of my covers.
Yep. Okay, that's wonderful. That's great. And so what genres do you like designing for?
Mainly fantasy, urban fantasy, and sci-fi. That's my big three. My style fits those three
Yeah,
pretty well, and
they're
so that's
great.
where I fall at.
Do you have any books sitting around there that you designed the covers for, or any covers that you could show up um, by chance?
I have one.
Okay.
I had to. My wife has a side T-shirt business, so she's taken
Oh,
over
cool.
most of my office, and so I had to downsize a lot of my stuff out of here that I don't use. Like I said, so I have one shelf. This is
That's okay.
probably
Oh,
this is
cool. Yep.
called War Girl, or
That is
the
really
name of the
cool.
story was War Girls, but it's called We Dare. It got picked up. It was a pre-made I made, and it got by a publisher, and
Oh,
they
cool.
made it into a book. So and it's one of my favorite covers that I've done
Yeah.
in general, pre-made or custom. So
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about the process that you go through with authors when you're developing a concept for a cover?
it can vary sometimes. Most of the time, it all starts with them giving me information. and then
Okay.
I take it and go from there. Sometimes they give me a lot of information. Sometimes they give me, like 2 sentences, and I, kind of extrapolate it from there. The best covers that I do are the ones that actually are the ones that are like 2 sentences or 3 sentences, where they kind of give me loose ideas and then just let me make it how I think it should be made. Those usually end up being a little bit stronger because I'm geared visually to make things to, I guess, hone in on certain aspects of a cover to make it look good.
Yep.
And so when I have too much information, or if I'm told it's got to have this, 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 and this, you really start limiting the prospects of the cover. I mean, you can still have a good cover, and it'll still, my skill set will still make the quality be there.
Mhm.
But could they be stronger? It definitely can be sometimes. But yeah, they give me the information, whether a lot or whether a little, and I
Okay.
do a proof, and then they come back with changes or no changes. Most of the covers you see on my website, like that's the proof. Like what you see, that's what they get in their first proof, and then there's
Okay.
like just a couple changes to it, and we
Wow.
adjust it from there. Yeah.
Okay. Creative brief. So do you like it when they give you like is that kind of what you're talking about? Like the information about the story and
Yeah.
like the characters, and what kind of things do you think are important for authors to include in that brief so that it gives you the most detail that you do need, but not too much, of course, where
Right.
it's hard to
Uh,
design something then.
the biggest thing, the biggest thing usually that usually is missed in covers is a character description.
Oh,
They'll tell me, yeah, if you think it would be he's, ragged looking with a scruffy beard and short hair, or, she's got long brown hair, or long, whatever color hair, and they wear this type of outfit. You think that would be kind of like I need to know that. That's one of the things that gets missed a good bit. And I know it's because the author in their head already knows that, and so they don't think about giving that information out. And
right.
that's fine. And so I usually just have to ask with the follow up. What do they wear? What's the outfit? What weapons do they use? That kind of stuff. For me, because my covers are pretty character centered, character description is the biggest thing.
Okay.
You want to know background. You want to know what the setting is. You want to know kind of the vibe and tone. But those things are tertiary to the character being being the front and center. And what that style is called, it's called pinup. Is the style that's what you think pinup, you think pretty lady, but it's the character centered image. And so that's the style I do.
Okay.
And so having that character laid out is the biggest thing. And again, it can be 2 or 3 sentences, and that's all I need. I don't have to have, there's a scar run down this way, and there's a missing patch in his shirt here. I don't have to necessarily have those details. I can,
Yep.
but yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. And then so when you do your designs, then are they like, do you draw them like, or do you end up using like stock images as well?
I use a lot of 3D rendered software. I do sketch out my covers,
Yep.
but it's extremely. I'll show you. I'll show you what my sketches look like.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're gonna be real impressed with these bad boys.
And then
Let's see.
super fun.
Let me find a good one that you can actually look at and decipher what I drew on it. All right, here we go. It's just stick figure. It's
Oh,
a stick
yep.
figure with a shield and
Hey,
a.
that's perfect.
I just need something to to frame it out and to kind of get
Yep.
my posing right. And then I move into
Right.
3D software where
Oh,
I'll kind of build the character out from there with my assets.
oh,
And
wow.
while I'm doing it, I can bring in the lighting during that process, and I can see what lighting looks good. If I don't like the pose, I can change his arm around. If I don't like the angle, I can move the camera around,
Oh,
and then I
cool.
render it and put it into Photoshop, and then I design it from there. I don't use a lot of stock photos anymore,
Okay.
mainly because of copyright issues. It's just easier if you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
If I use photos, it's usually like landscape stuff where it's trees or it's
Okay.
sky, where it's something that's not important. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I just need it back there,
Oh, sure.
and so that's about the only time I use stock photos.
Okay. Well, that's great. That's wonderful to know and everything. Do you create the images and then do the authors have sole rights? Do they pay for that? Or how does that work with, or at
Yeah,
least how do you handle it?
right. That's a good question. Yeah, with stock photos, you never have express copyright to that
Right.
image. If you do merchandising or anything like that, there's another added license that comes in that you are supposed to pay for now. Whether anybody ever finds out or whether it ends up being a big deal, whatever. But with me doing my 3D renders, once I render the image, like once I render, like the assets I might use, I can't license. But once I render the flat image or the picture, I guess you would say, that's mine as far as it goes in copyright terms. So I can
Yep.
do with it what I want to. So
Okay.
merchandising, anything like that, so it makes it a lot easier in that end,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. That's wonderful. That's really helpful because I was wondering about that. So I figured, hey, I'll ask him.
yeah, you got to be careful with it. I mean, and like depending on where they buy or depending on where you get your stock photos from, different stock photo sites have different licenses and that kind of stuff, and so
Right.
it just ends up being a hassle. And really, I hate looking for stock photos
Yeah.
because you never find the one you want.
Right.
The downfall with stock photos of people is usually it's because it's a straight on shot and they're lit up, and it's a 3-point lighting where they're lit up perfectly. There's no shadows,
Yeah.
and so like you're stuck with that angle and that view, and you have to just roll with it because you're locked in by the photo. And I don't like doing that. So.
Yeah, I totally get that. I can imagine how that would be kind of irritating to deal with, I'm sure. Do you have any advice for authors who are also designers that might help with their cover? Like making sure that their cover stands out or looks good, competing against like the traditional market.
Biggest two things I would throw out there. One is how I design my covers. I have a motto of simplify and amplify. So
Okay.
simplify your cover down to its basic needs, and then amplify those points. So like if your cover is about a knight who rescues a princess from a dragon,
Yep.
do you need the dragon? Probably not. Do you need the princess? Probably not. Do you need the knight on there? If the story's about him, you need him.
Yeah.
And so you should focus. So simplify down to that, and then focus, and then amplify that. Now, when you amplify it, you might be able to bring the dragon back in. You might be able to bring the princess back in.
Okay.
But if you simplify it down, you kind of boil it down to the basics you need, and then put them on there, and then go from there.
Okay.
Because if you come in with the idea of I've got to have a princess, I got to have a dragon. Well, if I got a princess, she's probably got to be in a tower. I got to have a tower on there. And I got to have a sky. And then I got to have typography. I got to have title. I got to have series. I got to have author name. And all of a sudden, your cover gets really crowded, and you feel like you got to have all these things on there. The truth is, you really don't. You can peel it back, still have and have a more impactful cover than just trying to cram everything on there, so that when somebody a reader would go, oh, I see that princess. He's trying to rescue her. There's a dragon. Nobody's going to take that much time to decipher your cover. So I would say simplify, amplify.
Okay.
And then the last thing would be contrast. Any cover, even my covers, some of them could do with going back over and adding contrast, making my either I fade back the background and pull the character forward, or do something to just pop in some contrast to get some more definition and separate out your elements, whether it's your title, whether it's your character. That's the biggest downfall of a lot of covers, is they don't have enough contrast in them, and it's just something you don't think about unless you do it, all the time.
Right. Oh, that's really good information. I'm sure that authors who are designers who are watching this will really enjoy that information and everything. So thank you for sharing that. It really does make sense with like the simplifying, because I have seen covers out there where it's like, whoa, a lot is happening here.
Yeah, authors get, in their heads, they get like that's constipated with all the information they have, and I think they have to all come out on that cover, and it really doesn't. And it usually works best if it doesn't. It usually works best if you just start taking away things and then focus on one or two primary elements, and then anything else is going to be secondary or tertiary, and it's not going to have a lot of detail. It's not going to have a lot of focus. If the castle's faded in the background, that's great. We don't need to see that. That's not that big a deal. And so, it's something that you don't think about again, like unless you do it all the time. So.
Cool. Yeah, that's really good information. Thank you for sharing that. That's really good. And so what is your average turnaround time when it comes to a cover? And does it depend on whether it's like an ebook, print book, or a hardcover? Like, do the times vary? So I guess that was a couple questions. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, the whole process from the start date to the end date is usually about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter usually what it's got on it. I mean, or as far as if it's paperback or hardcover. I mean, that might add, that might add a little more time to it, but that's not going to be that big of a deal. The time, the 3 weeks is waiting on me, and then me waiting on the author. Each 5 to 7 days before I have the first proof to an author, and then it's just kind of back and forth about how fast they get back to me, how much their changes are required to make the cover. If it's severe changes, it takes longer. If it's just a quick change, it's a lot shorter.
Sure.
So I would say an average of about 3 weeks, with a max of being like 4 weeks.
Oh,
So
okay. Perfect. So
yeah, yeah,
4 weeks. Perfect.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's wonderful. And then how early do authors need to book with you if they're interested in booking? And do you book out quite far?
Yeah. Well, that's a interesting question because I'm still answering part of that myself.
Okay.
I kind of stopped taking jobs for right now because I'm booked out for pretty much all
Okay.
of 2022.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. It's been, like I said, I've been really blessed.
Yeah.
I do have some slots left in 2022, but not many. So I kind of doffed off on it.
Okay.
It's hard for me to, I hate to say, depend on an author that's a year and a half out, unless like that's all they do. And I've got some authors who are full time authors. All they do is write.
Right.
They don't stop. And those people can get slots with me in the 2023 and onward. I think I have one lady who's got some in 2024, but that's all. She's once a month, every month. And
That's
so, I can trust on her, and we've been like that for a couple of years now. So
right.
I trust her that she's going to be there. So it's,
She's going to
so
be
for
there.
me, I don't take a lot of new authors that far out just because life happens, man. If you're a first time author, you might get sidetracked or something else might come along.
Mhm.
It's just, and so, I got to make sure I take care of my side of my business side of it. But if you're going to book with me, like I said, at the moment you start writing the book, it'd be good to
Okay.
contact me if you want to book with me, or if you want to book with anybody. That's not. There's a lot of the I don't want to say that some of the more well-known cover designers are booked out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months out, and some people can write books inside of 2 or 3 months. So when you start thinking about writing your book, it's best to go ahead and reach out to a cover designer if you want a certain one, and
Okay.
and if see what their schedule's like, see if they're available. Now the other side of that is I do have a rush option. If you want to pay me more money, I will sacrifice my sleep time and I will get your cover done.
There you go.
I hate to say that's part of it, but I mean, if
Yeah.
you want to pay more money, I mean, I don't
Right.
have to sleep.
And you're
I don't
running
have
a
to lay.
business, so it makes complete sense. And also if say there is an author out there who gets out a book a month or a couple books a year consistently, and they have like the backlist to kind of prove it and everything, would
Yeah.
they be able to reach out to you and
Oh yeah, sure.
kind of like see if they can get it going or whatnot?
Yeah,
More
I'm happy to talk
covers?
to anybody. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. I'm
Perfect.
happy to talk to anybody. I mean, I don't want to even turn off somebody who's a first time author to say I would turn them down. It's just there's an issue
The
there's
scheduling.
a
Yeah.
trust thing in that I gotta
Yeah.
trust you to be there a year and a couple months from now, and
Right.
that's
Yes.
and I have a deposit. I charge like a $75 deposit,
Okay.
because in 2018 I had a whole bunch of cancellations because I had booked a whole bunch of people out, and I must have had 20 or 30 cancellations through the year. This was my schedule. Yeah.
Oh, sure. I'm
And
sure.
so in 19, I started doing a deposit. And so in 19, I had like 2 cancellations. And then in
Oh, wow.
2020, even with COVID, I had like 4 cancellations. Discovered that with me charging a deposit, that makes people
Stick to it
take it
better.
take it seriously. Like
Yeah.
there's money already involved here. I've already paid him,
Yep.
and I need to, and so it changes the game a little bit for me. Yeah, I mean, when you don't charge for something like that, people will just book a spot, thinking they'll because they think, oh, I'll get a slot from him, and I might have it
Yep.
done, and then life happens. Because it's not any kind of to lay blame on anybody. It's just
Yep.
life happens, man.
Oh,
You get
totally. Yeah.
distracted, you need to go. Yeah. So
Look at 2020. It kind of
right,
came upon
right.
us,
Life
right?
happens. Exactly, exactly. So I
Yeah.
mean, anything can come up.
Right.
So
Right. And so the best way to reach out to you for them, what would that be?
email. My email is jcalebdesign@gmail.com.
Perfect.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at jcalebdesign. If you just type in jcalebdesign in Google, you'll find me. But my email is the best way because I
Okay.
check it all the time. I'm not the best social media person past that.
I get
So
that. It keeps
yeah,
changing. So, but yeah, I'll put your email here down below as well as
sure.
all your other links in the description as well,
Okay.
so people can find you. Let's see here. And you said you also make pre-made covers, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
Do you usually have those on like your website so people can go and
Mhm.
look at them then?
Yeah, well, I sell most of them. So I don't, and I haven't made any in the past few months or better because my custom schedule has gotten pretty full.
Oh, sure.
But I've sold all of them but like one, and so I don't have
Okay.
many to peruse through. I used to do one a week. So I mean, and there for a long time. If I made it, I'd usually sell it within a week or two, which is great.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, like that one I showed you, that was a pre-made that I made
Okay.
just off the top of my head. And so yeah, I try. I want to get back to those because I enjoy doing them because I can just come up with my own type of things, And so yeah, I have my Facebook group, Check Out Design, and that's where I release them at for kind of everybody to see. And they
Okay.
go up on my shop, but like if you want to see it ahead of time, the group would be the best place to join.
Okay. The Facebook group. Okay. Sure thing. I will put that in the description too, just in case anyone's looking for some nice pre-made covers and everything.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes read the book before you design the cover, or
no? No. I've designed over 1,000 covers, and I've read 2.
Wow. Okay. No problem. So in a year, like if we say last year, or even this year up till this point, how many covers have you designed? If you know
the past 2 years, I've really ramped up my production. So like last year, I finished at about 340 covers.
Wow.
In a year, and this year I'm probably going to hit around the same mark. So about one a day almost for me. I make them pretty quick. I come from I worked at a print shop, like I said earlier in the interview, and it was me and one other lady, and we pretty much ran the print shop. And so I would take jobs. I would take the job. I would design the job. I would print the job. I would cut the job. I'd package the job, and I'd check them out. I did the whole thing from top to bottom. And so you had to get real fast at doing everything. And so that job taught me efficiency in my work. And so it allows me to crank out covers pretty quick. Like right now, today's Tuesday. I've already done five covers this week.
Wow.
Yeah, I just finished the 5th one before I got on here with you. So
awesome.
So yeah, sometimes I'm a little slower. Some weeks I'm slower if I got a whole bunch of reworks, or if there's a bunch of covers that people hate and I have to redo them, which is rare. But sometimes it can kind of happen like that, and you have to go back and redo a whole bunch. But yeah. Anyways, that's a long answer to this.
Yeah. Oh no, it's interesting. So thanks for sharing that. And so when do you recommend an author's cover should be like illustrated versus like real pictures?
I would let the market tell you what to do there. Look at not to say that you need to copy your competitors or anything, because you don't want to do that. But there are, like, if you're an urban fantasy author, there's certain things urban fantasy readers are looking for in a book cover. And like what like the cliche is leather jacket lady is kind of a cliche for urban fantasy type stuff. And you can, but I mean, they're looking for that, and you should lean into that. Should your character have a leather jacket? Maybe not, but I mean, there's certain other clothing items, there's other ways you can approach that where you can lean into that same aesthetic. And like I said, the readers are looking for that. When you're searching Netflix, you're looking for certain. If you're not looking for a specific movie, if you're looking for just a genre or whatever, you're looking for certain visual cues. And you should lean into those visual cues. Or another great example is if you're at the cereal aisle at Walmart or whatever. If you want sugary goodness, you're going to get the leprechaun on the box, the cartoon leprechaun, because you can tell by looking at that, it's going to be full of sugar and it's going to be great. If you want the healthy stuff, you're going to get the box that's white with blueberries and bran flakes on it. You know what that look represents. And so so yeah, you should, as an author, you should look at your genre, your market, and treat it like that. What would the readers of this genre be looking for? Not what I necessarily want as an author. And you should get those things in there, because if you're hiring a custom cover, you need to get the things that are custom to your story, that are unique to your story. They need to be on the cover and they need to be there. But you should lean into the things that readers of that market are looking for, because they don't know you, and so if you're a first-time author, they don't know you, so you need to make sure you're pulling them in with that visual cue. Yeah,
that's really good information about like the looking to your market. That's great advice, I think. So
yeah,
that's perfect. Okay, and then how often can authors ask to have their cover tweaked? Because I heard you were talking about the covers that you have to like revisit and
Yeah.
edit or whatnot. What do you usually include with your packages? Are there only a certain number of edits or?
Yeah, I have 4 rounds of revision. Very rarely do we get to like, well, if I have 4 rounds of revisions, and very rarely do we get there in terms of like big revisions. Usually the first proof kind of tells us where we're going. And
Okay.
then if there's a lot of edits, the second proof is usually way more honed in, or the first proof is right there where it needs to be, and we need to make just a few tweaks, and then we're kind of done.
Perfect.
I have that in there because, and most designers will have a round limit in there to keep people from taking advantage
Yeah.
of the unlimited revisions. Because some authors, and it's happened to me, and it's the reason why I have a round limit. I had one author go to like round 15 or 16,
Hmm.
and then they wanted to go back to round 9 and use that cover.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
that was really frustrating to
Oh
me
yeah.
because I had done all this work, and then I work on a fixed rate, so the price is the price. I don't really change it.
Yeah.
So that kind of hurt me. So I put the revisions in
Yeah.
there, and I've never had anybody do that before or after that guy. But yeah, it's to kind of keep it limited.
Right.
If I get to the fourth round and they're like, can you change this hand, from here to here? I'm not going to be like, oh, you're out of round limits, and I'm not going to do it, or you're going to pay
Yeah.
me more money. I mean, small things don't matter.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, but it's usually 4 for me.
Okay.
So
Perfect. That's great to know. I had always wondered how that works and whatnot. So that's
yeah,
cool. And so if let's see here. Oh yeah, this is kind of related to that one. But like say that an author comes back to their story and it's a cover that you designed. And down the road, they either want to like, maybe they want to update their cover and have the person facing a different way or something. Do you actually keep your files on hand where, like, say a year from now, John, the author, can come back and
yeah,
have his cover kind of redone
right,
with the
yeah,
same thing on it, but like something needs to be changed?
yeah. I've had that happen before. I'm a data hoarder, so I keep everything.
Okay, good.
I've got a server at the house, and anything that's like old, I have like a hard drive. I dump everything onto that's
Okay.
I'm not using anymore. So I've had people want to make small changes, and I've had people who want to like redo the whole entire cover. But and keep some of the typography, but redo the imagery, that
Okay.
kind of thing. So yeah, I keep everything as best I can.
Wonderful. Okay, that's good to know. Perfect. And then are you familiar with like what images like authors can share online, and does their cover when they buy the cover from you, is that like do they like own it, or is it just like certain rights, or and can they share it for online slash marketing purposes?
Yeah.
Um yeah, that's a
The
loaded
best advice.
question.
Oh, no, you're fine. The basic answer is you need a contract with your artist
Right.
to understand what you have and what you don't. And now you'd ask me, do I have contracts? I don't have contracts. I've
Okay.
never had a contract with anybody. Well, I got one lady that I have to sign. One lady I have to send a PDF like giving her rights to it like every time she asks for it. And you
Sure.
should ask for those things. And as an author, you should know what you can and
Yeah.
cannot do with it. For me, as the person who does it, because it comes from 3D stuff and like there's not really any kind of copyrighted imagery in there. I don't care what you do with it. Like
Okay.
I'm going to put it on my website, for my portfolio. I'm never going to use it for anything else. Like either you use it or it don't get used. So
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I'm a lot more flexible with that. And also I go into it knowing I haven't used anything that's got copyrighted imagery in it. So I know that my client is okay to do with it what they will. As
Okay.
far as it goes. So yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, if there's anything like that that's an issue, and I'll let them know up front. Like I have some authors who they want maybe a head swap. They want a real photo of a person,
Yep.
and then they want whatever body I've come up with for the figure. And in that case, there's going to be a licensing issue that comes up, and
Hmm.
so I let them know, hey, just be aware you can only do certain things with this as far as it goes.
Okay.
But I don't do those very often. Most of the time, it's all 3D with paint over and that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And then, so is there anything else that you would like authors to know when it comes to working with a designer? Are there any other things that you think a writer or author should know?
I would say, and this is hard to do if you haven't worked with a cover designer before,
Yeah.
but trust your
Yeah.
designer. Typically, if it's somebody who like this is what I do all day, every day. So your success is my success. So, I never set out to want to do a bad cover. So if I have a suggestion, maybe this will be better, maybe this will look better, maybe we should go this route. It's
Mhm.
usually because I feel like that's the best way to go and in the best interest of the cover. Because if like I said, if it's successful, you're successful, then I'm successful. So and for a first time author, that's kind of that can be a hard bridge to jump because they don't know them and that kind of stuff. And so there is a trust thing where you got to make sure that they got your best interest at heart. They're not trying to
Okay.
just get it done real quick and then move on to the next person. So it's hard for me to. I would say put trust out there for your designers. Also, depending on where you're hiring them from, sometimes that trust is hard to come by. If
Mhm.
it's somebody who looks like they're professional, their website's put together, all their stuff's put together well, they've got a good record of doing work for people. You should already be able to have some trust that they know what they're doing as far as it goes. If it's somebody you found on Fiverr or somebody you found in some random other place, I can understand where there would be a trust issue there. But yeah, trust your designers. Because
Perfect.
usually, most of the time, we want to do a good job and we want the cover to do well. So,
Perfect. Okay. But it was so
okay.
lovely to have a chat with you, Jake.
Yeah. Thank you for asking me to be on here.